Samuel Johnson and Vanessa Cameron seemed like a great match. They're both good-looking, career-oriented, and come from solid, stable families. They start a family of their own, but eventually they reach the end of the road on their romance. However, Samuel will learn the hard way that Vanessa does not give up so easily. Hello and welcome to The Dark Side of Love. I am your host, Bianca Sloan, author of suspense novels about the dark side of love. And this week I'm putting a spotlight on the case I'm calling Before I Let You Go. Samuel Johnson Jr. was born in San Antonio, Texas on December 8, 1983, to Dad Samuel Johnson Sr. and Mom Stephanie. Samuel, or Sam as he's called, is the oldest of three kids and had aspirations at an early age of becoming a lawyer. However, love would intervene in the form of 20-year-old Erica Bridgeforth. 19-year-old Sam and Erica met at H-E-B, which is a grocery store, and that's where he was working and where he cashed a check for her. They hit it off right away, and Sam's not the only one in love with Erica, as his entire family is crazy about her. However, despite being deeply in love with Erica, after 4 years of exclusivity, Sam starts getting ants in his pants and wonders if he's ready to settle down at such a young age. He eventually decides to go his own way and breaks up with Erica, which his family is not happy about. Sam decides to work on fulfilling that lifelong dream of becoming a lawyer and enrolls in law school. After a while, though, he drops out and goes to work, deciding to save up his coins to pay for school. And it's while he's working at the front desk of a local gym that he meets yet another older woman, this one by the name of Vanessa Cameron. Like Sam, 23-year-old Vanessa Cameron is a San Antonio native and also a December baby, though she was born in 1980. Described and snapped as outgoing and fun, Vanessa also gets noticed for her looks, with her friend Adrienne Motes telling Snapped that, quote, lots of guys liked her. She was beautiful. Vanessa and her sister Susan hail from a law enforcement background, raised by their mom Sylvia, who is a police officer, and their dad, who is a little more on the wild side. Vanessa takes after her mom, focusing on her schoolwork and being a lot more goal-oriented than sister Susan, who is more like their fun-loving dad. This difference in goals and personalities means that the sisters aren't particularly close. After graduating from college, Vanessa notched a job working with kids via the local housing authority and is so successful that she is eventually able to buy a house. She meets Sam in February of 2007, and the attraction is immediate. Vanessa's friend Adrienne even referred to Sam in Snapped as, quote, an instant boyfriend, which I take to mean that Vanessa and Sam got really close really fast. So much so, Sam moves into Vanessa's house. Well, all of this playing house leads to Vanessa giving birth to their son, Samuel Johnson III, in 2008. However, the young family's life is thrown into chaos when in April of 2009, their house is destroyed in a fire. Investigators determine the fire to be accidental, and Vanessa gets a $300,000 insurance payout that she keeps to herself, as in she doesn't give Sam a red, white, or blue nickel. So he's the father of her son, he's living in the house with her, I'm sure he must have been contributing. Not to mention he lost all of his belongings in that same fire, but somehow Vanessa does not deem it necessary to give him a portion of the money. Vanessa, Sam, and the baby move in with Vanessa's sister Susan and her boyfriend, B.J. Brown. It's a less than ideal living situation. 4 adults in the house and a baby, and predictably, the tension starts to rise between Vanessa and Sam, who, rightfully so, is still a little salty about Vanessa keeping all of the insurance money from the fire for herself. In short, Sam is no longer feeling the relationship with Vanessa, so he packs up and moves in with his brother. Vanessa wants to make things work between them, but the truth is, Sam has moved on in more ways than one. As in, he gets back with his ex-girlfriend from way back in the day, Erica. So Sam had really never gotten over Erica, and neither had his family, who are thrilled that the couple have found their way back to each other. Sam and Erica pick up where they left off, and that includes getting engaged. Sam permanently puts law school in the rearview, and he sets a new course. deciding to train to be a bus driver for the city of San Antonio. And then the couple gets news that Erica is pregnant. January 17th, 2010. A few days earlier, Vanessa told Sam she was heading out of town for the weekend to visit with her longtime friend Adrian, who lives in Meridian, Mississippi. She's taking the baby with her, and she asks if he will drop her off at the airport. She had also relented and decided to give Sam a share of the insurance money and tells him that she's left it with her sister Susan, and that Susan will call him and they can coordinate a time from there for him to pick up the money. Kind of weird that she wouldn't just give Sam the money herself since she's going to see him, but there must have been reasons, right? So after dropping Vanessa and his son off at the airport, Sam visits with fiancée Erica before he heads out to meet up with Susan and then right to work that night. So his parents don't hear from him, which is unusual because he is always in touch. His father, Sam Sr., tells Snapped about his son, quote, "He wouldn't just drop off the face of the earth." Except Sam Johnson has indeed vanished in the thin air. When Sam's parents don't hear from their son, they reach out to Vanessa because, as far as they knew, she was the last person to see him. Vanessa says she has no idea where Sam is, that he dropped her off at the airport, and that was the last she saw of him. His parents also learn that Sam did not show up for work. He doesn't call in, and again, this is very unusual for Sam, who's very conscientious. Then, Erica reveals that Sam was supposed to see Susan about the money, which you'd think that Vanessa would have mentioned that to his parents, but she did not. And as Erica told Snap, that money would have gone a long way toward getting Sam back on his feet because she said, quote, "He literally had nothing." So Sam's worried parents file a missing persons report, and police quickly realize that the two people who were last known to see Sam have rock-solid alibis. Vanessa, of course, is in Mississippi, and Erica was at church choir practice. Now, Erica doesn't set off any alarm bells as a potential suspect involved in Sam's disappearance because, as former sergeant for the San Antonio Police Department, Kimberly Bauer, says in Snap, quote, "Her emotions were appropriate. She was crying. I didn't get any feelings or vibes or the hair standing up on the back of my neck." So based on what Erica reveals about Sam supposedly picking up this money from Susan, investigators decide to hone in their focus on Vanessa's sister. But before they can head down that road, they get a very strange call from a woman in Meridian, Mississippi, who it turns out is Adrian's mother. That's Vanessa's good girlfriend. And she tells investigators, Vanessa came to visit my daughter this weekend, and there was some real cuckoo clock stuff going on during that visit. I think you all should talk to Adrian. So Kimberly Bauer and Adrian get on the phone, and Adrian reveals that first off, Vanessa showed up at her house kind of out of the blue that weekend. Now, it was Adrian's birthday, and Vanessa said that she wanted to celebrate Adrian's birthday with her. Okay, cool, great. Nothing out of the ordinary about that. Okay, so then during the course of this weekend, Vanessa tells Adrian that Sam has been harassing her about giving him a cut of the insurance money from the fire. And apparently around this time, Sam had called Vanessa, and Vanessa relayed to Adrian that she and Sam were working on their relationship, as in trying to figure out how to get that together. But Sam is engaged to Erica, and Erica's pregnant, so okay, 1 and 1, maybe not adding up to 2 here, but let's keep going. Let's see where the road takes us. Okay, so then Vanessa gets a call from her sister's boyfriend, BJ. And when she gets off the phone with him, she tells Adrian something really bizarre, which is, quote, "I think they accidentally killed Sam." What? So they, apparently, were her sister Susan and her boyfriend BJ. That they had made this plan to meet up at a gas station so that Sam could pick up the money that Vanessa said she would pay him, and that apparently during this meeting, things went all the way south, and Sam ended up hitting his head on a curb and dying. And that in a panic, BJ and Susan, they take off. I know that anyone within the sound of my voice does not believe this sounds even remotely plausible. Adrian blows it off because it does, again, sound really cuckoo clock, chalking everything up to Vanessa being overdramatic, thinking, well, maybe Susan and BJ just beat him up, which is bad enough, but seems more likely than this hit his head on the curb nonsense. Vanessa winds up leaving a few days early after the two friends have a falling out. And after talking to Kimberly Bauer, Adrian's one-on-one adds up to her realizing that her so-called good friend had been using her for an alibi, that Sam's death was no accident. Adrian says in snaps that after realizing this, she felt, quote, betrayed by her, meaning Vanessa. Meanwhile, on the east side of San Antonio, a tourist out for a morning walk strolls past a cemetery and sees something unusual. It's a person propped up against a tree. At first glance, it looks like the person is sleeping. However, when the tourist loops back, they realize this person has not changed positions at all. And when they take a closer look, it's clear this is a body. The cops are called, and it's apparent that this person has been shot multiple times. However, there is scant evidence at the scene suggesting that this isn't the scene of the crime. There's no blood, there's no shell casings, and so investigators, they decide to check for any recent missing persons reports. And that is when they discover their John Doe matches the description of Sam Johnson. Fingerprints confirm that the body found in the cemetery is Sam. Sam Johnson was 26 years old. An autopsy reveals that Sam had been shot 9 times, multiple times in the head, to the forearm, his hands, and 3 in his torso. He also had a significant contusion, suggesting that he had been hit, though it's unclear what the weapon was. And due to the nature of the gunshot wounds, it appears that the murder is personal. So investigators issue a BOLO, or be on the lookout, for Sam's car, which is a 2006 gold Dodge Stratus. The car is found the next day on the south side of the city. And this is unusual because the cemetery where Sam was found was on the east side. So again, lending credence to the working theory that where Sam was killed and where he was found, 2 different places. The interior of the car has been wiped clean of any prints. The trunk, however, is a bonanza of evidence. There's blood in the trunk, but not enough to determine that this is where Sam was killed, which leads investigators to the conclusion that Sam was transported from wherever he was killed in his own car. As former San Antonio Police Sergeant Lisa Miller says in Snapped, quote, "We were still looking for our murder scene." And something that Erica, Sam's fiance, said to Kimberly Bauer suggests that murder scene might have been closer to home, telling her, quote, "If anybody murdered Sam, it would have been Vanessa." Investigators lure Vanessa and her sister Susan, based on this information, to the police station under the guise of needing background information on Sam for the investigation. The sisters are put in separate interrogation rooms, and Vanessa wastes no time, pointing the finger at Erica, saying, quote, "I think she had something to do with this. I mean, we have to put it out there. I think she had something to do with this." She claims that Sam was breaking off his engagement with Erica and coming back to her. So she's basically suggesting that Erica went full-blown fatal attraction, saying, quote, "I think that she was obsessed with Sam." Vanessa paints herself as Sam's one true love, and that the rest of the floozies, which is how she referred to the other women that Sam had dated in the past, as Sam had been a bit of a player at different points in time, that these floozies mean nothing to her, that they were merely the cost of doing business. Meanwhile, in the other room, Lisa Miller is interviewing Susan, who she described to Snapped as, quote, "very calm, very talkative, seemed to be very, very helpful." Susan says that Sam came to the house to pick up the money, she handed it to him, he left, and as far as she knew, he went to work after that. Never saw him again. Now remember, Susan does not know that investigators had talked to Adrian Motes, Vanessa's friend, who told them this ridiculous gas station story. So Lisa Miller decides, you know what, let's go there. So in Texas, investigators are allowed to lie during an interrogation in order to get the truth out of a suspect. So Lisa Miller says, listen, Susan, your sister Vanessa has completely sold you out and told us everything. BJ called Vanessa while she was in Mississippi and said that you guys accidentally killed Sam. So, hey, just why don't you go ahead and give us your version of events? Well, Susan is not falling for the okie doke and says, would not happen, did not happen, peace out, I'm leaving. In the other interrogation room, Kimberly Bowers says the same thing to Vanessa that Lisa Miller said to Susan, which is basically, Adrian told us about BJ calling you while you were in Mississippi. Now Vanessa, who is no dummy, she realizes that she is this close to getting busted, and so she changes her tune from Erica, Erica, Erica to Susan, Susan, Susan. She confesses that her sister and BJ copped to accidentally killing Sam, and Vanessa is weeping that she was just trying to hold everything together, trying to be a good sister. Well. Quite the performance. So now Susan apparently has had a change of heart, and she comes back to the station and sits down again in the interrogation room with Lisa Miller and is like, so, Vanessa wants to pin this on me? Well, guess what? I'm about to tell y'all the what's what. And Susan flat out says about her sister, quote, she's been evil since we were little kids. She's used me every day of my life. Okay, this is when shit really starts getting real. Okay, so Susan says that Vanessa is the one who started the fire that burned her house down. Apparently, she was trying to start a fire in the trash can. I don't know. It's not clear if this was intentional or not, but the point of departure is that Vanessa is the culprit in the house fire. It takes Vanessa less than a year to blow through that $300,000. And rather than, get a job, Vanessa says, I've got a better idea. So Sam had taken out a $750,000 life insurance policy with an eye toward leaving something for his son if something happened to him. Then he would be taken care of. As prosecutor Jay Brandon put it in Snapped, Sam, quote, made the mistake of telling Vanessa. Susan claims that her sister's wheels started turning, telling investigators she wanted me to get a gun and shoot Sam. Susan goes on to say that Vanessa withheld her medication as a way of manipulating her into doing her dirty work. So Susan had a history of mental health issues, which is why she was on medication, and that if they were ever caught, Vanessa planned to blame it all on Susan and say it was because Susan was off her meds. That is truly diabolical. Both Susan and her boyfriend, BJ, were unemployed, and Vanessa was essentially supporting everyone with the insurance money and also controlling them with it. She'd take it all away if Susan did not do what Vanessa wanted. Susan says that she just could not murder Sam. So, her loving boyfriend, BJ, prince among men, he steps up to the plate and says, don't worry, boo, I got this. I'll do it. And he even recruits his cousin, 27-year-old Lakeisha Brown, to the cause. Something that struck me about this as I was researching this was that Susan and Vanessa's mom, Sylvia, was a police sergeant. Why didn't Susan go to the mom and say, hey, your other daughter is trying to get me to murder somebody? It kind of makes me wonder about the family dynamics, why that didn't happen, but I digress. As it turns out, Lakeisha is also, surprise, unemployed, and Vanessa uses this to her advantage by promising this ragtag gang that they will all be on Easy Street once that insurance money comes in. Everybody's going to get a car. Everybody's going to be golden. As Susan told Lisa Miller about Vanessa, she told us that we would be taken care of. Vanessa laid out to BJ that she wanted Sam to be killed while she was out of town, which would give her an airtight alibi. Susan says that BJ told her later that he and Lakeisha beat Sam up and that they then drove out to a remote ranch where they shot him 9 times before loading his body into the trunk of his car. Now, investigators need some corroboration to this tale, so they tell Susan to call BJ and Lakeisha to come on down so that they can question the duo about their version of events. So BJ, when he gets there, he tries to play Mr. Moral and Upstanding, telling investigators that, quote, his mother raised him up to not be like that. That's not in my blood to do anything like that at all, and that I hardly even associate with Vanessa. Okay, sure. And then he starts crying. Lakeisha, on the other hand, his cousin, she is all too eager to spill her tea, telling investigators that she's the one who opened the door when Sam arrived at the house, and that how it all started is that she got scared because he was so much bigger than her, and so she panicked and hit him with a board because why not? She claims that BJ stepped in to handcuff Sam before hog-tying him and putting duct tape over his mouth. They then put Sam in the trunk of his car, drove out to the country where BJ opened the trunk and removed the handcuffs. Sam was begging for his life when he asked a simple question: why? And according to Lakeisha, BJ's response is, because it's what Vanessa wanted. BJ shoots Sam, puts him back in the trunk, and BJ and Lakeisha drive back into town where they abandon the car and flee the scene. Lakeisha says that along the way, she dismantled the gun and threw the pieces out the car window. This is a stunning story, and investigators ask Lakeisha to take them out to this ranch, and she agrees. They find 9 shell casings, rope, and a barbecue grill with burnt clothing. Finally, they have their murder scene. Investigators are quite eager to confront Vanessa with all of this new evidence. And her response? Why, yes, she says, I did have Sam killed because that's what he wanted. What? So, in Vanessa's timeline, Sam wanted her and the baby to have this mega life insurance policy now, not tomorrow. So he said, listen, I'm too chicken to do it myself, so hey, why don't you just have me killed? I mean, how on earth do you come up with something so completely ridiculous, horrible, and just repugnant? So this whole crew, Vanessa, her sister Susan, Lakeisha, BJ, all of them are arrested. And according to what Kimberly Bauer told Snapped, when the cuffs go on Vanessa, quote, she really didn't show a lot of emotion about it. Just another day ending in Y, I guess. There's still one more mystery that investigators want to clear up, which is how Sam was found on the east side of town while his car was found on the south side. So Lakeisha said that was not them. So police operate under the theory that after BJ and Lakeisha vaporized, that some rando happened to walk by and saw this abandoned car with the keys inside and took it for a ride before discovering Sam's body in the trunk, and that then this rando mystery person dumped Sam's body in the cemetery, then abandoned the car on the other side of town. I mean, hashtag, I guess, yeah, anything's possible. Something that is not a mystery, though, is Vanessa's boundless greed. Less than 24 hours after Sam was found murdered, Vanessa reached out to his employer, claiming to be his common-law wife, and as such, was entitled to his last paycheck. And she also wanted to know how to cash in on the $750,000 life insurance policy. Kimberly Bowers summed up Vanessa's brazenness quite succinctly and Snapped, saying, quote, I just think it was all part of a cold, callous personality. Vanessa's trial began in February of 2012, and she is sticking to her story that Sam wanted her to have the money, but was too scared to take himself out, so she was just doing what he wanted, you see. And as the San Antonio Express News reported, Vanessa claimed, quote, I told him, yes, that was the best plan he'd ever come up with. Like, how do you admit to something like that? What is going on in your head that you admit to something like that? Well, prosecutors, they told the jury, don't fall for this. As the San Antonio Express News reported, Prosecutor Jay Ishii bluntly told the jury, quote, this defendant is smart. She's the scariest kind of smart. It's not like she got mad at Sam and did her own dirty work. This was planned. This was thought out. She has been manipulating the system since day one. Susan and Lakeisha made deals with the state and they testified against Vanessa, and though the evidence against her is overwhelming, Vanessa is manifesting freedom. As Lisa Miller said in Snap, quote, Vanessa's still confident that we have not tied her to this murder. For her part, Sam's fiancée, Erica, was pretty incensed over Vanessa's behavior during the trial, saying in Snap, quote, she's sitting there looking in the mirror, putting on her makeup because she knew she was going to walk out of there. But that never happened. And indeed, the jury comes back with a resoundingly guilty verdict, and the judge sentences Vanessa to 75 years in prison. Susan was sentenced to 25 years, Lakeisha to 20. BJ, through a weird quirk of the legal system, he was acquitted during his trial and he walks away. Speaking of quirks of the system, Vanessa, because she doesn't give up, she later files for an appeal, claiming that because the courtroom for her trial was so packed, standing room only, her family, specifically her mother, was not allowed in the courtroom because there was nowhere to sit, thus denying Vanessa the right to have her family in the courtroom, and believe it or not, she's actually granted a second trial. Well, if Vanessa would have just sat there and ate her food, she wouldn't have been found guilty of murder twice. And instead of being sentenced to 75 years, she wouldn't have been sentenced to life in prison the second time around. There is a reason why we do not poke the bear. Vanessa and her sister Susan are serving their sentences at Lane Murray Unit, a women's prison located in Gatesville, Texas. 7 months after Sam's murder, his fiancée Erica gives birth to Sam's youngest son. Sylvia, Susan and Vanessa's mom, is raising Sam and Vanessa's son. I have to say, this is one of the crazier cases that I've done. Certainly one of the most heinous. And Carl Alexander, former prosecutor with the Bexar County District Attorney's Office, said it better than I ever could. Telling Snap about Vanessa, quote, she is a master manipulator, manipulating people to do her dirty work. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of The Dark Side of Love. I am your host, Bianca Sloan, and show your love for The Dark Side of Love by visiting thedarksideoflove.com for show notes and transcripts. While you're there, sign up for my newsletter to be notified about new episodes. You can also find a link to my Patreon page where you can access bonus material and other fun stuff. Learn more about my suspense novels about the dark side of love by visiting biancasloan.com. Thanks for hanging out with me, and join me next time for another tale of love gone wrong. I'll see you on the dark side.